putting food into a food bowl. I know you got, there's my food bowl, my food container right there. I put it in a cup, I put it in their bowl, they eat it. Yeah, nutrition is a lot more than that. There is a ton of stuff we need to take into consideration. And so this class is basically, we're going to be going into the physiological response to different nutrients. We're going to discuss the 6 basic nutrients. We have 3 energy and 3 non-energy producing nutrients. You've got carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Those are energy producing. And you've got water, vitamins, and minerals, non-energy producing. And these are used in your body like a house of cards. Basically what happens is this Chipotle burrito that you eat, it's made of protein and carbohydrates and fats, etc. And your body's going to break those down into the most basic molecular structure. It's going to break your carbohydrates into simple sugar. That's what carbohydrates are. There's just simple sugars. It's going to break your fats down into fatty acids, and it's going to break your proteins down into amino acids. And then those most basic molecular structures go into the blood, and they go all over your body. Some of them will go to your liver, and your liver is what converts them into usable energy. We're going to talk a little bit about the anatomy behind this. Some of them are going to go and be stored in your adipose tissue. Sadly, that's pretty much what's been happening to me for the last 6 weeks or so. Just been stored into my adipose tissue. Once we have discussed, and we're going to take the first several weeks and discuss these nutrients. Once we've discussed the nutrients, then we can simply start plug and play. Once we know what the nutrients do, what is their role, how are they benefiting the animal, then we can start saying, okay, well, here's what we're trying to accomplish. Let's say I have a growing puppy, and I'm growing muscle, I'm growing tissue, I need a ton of energy. What kind of nutrients can I put into that food to satisfy those needs? Maybe I have a pet that's ill, they're sick. And what kind of things can I change in the nutritional support to provide what they need to support them to provide optimal health? And so that's basically what this class is going to be. We'll talk about the molecular structures of the nutrients. How do they interact with each other? How do they act within the body? And what kind of benefits can we glean from them, tailoring some sort of nutritional support system? So that's basically the whole premise of nutrition. Now, the textbook for this class is your Big Bertha. Okay, it's that VT, what is it? VT, the big one. You know the one I'm talking about. Yeah, no, I think that's your anatomy, Rob. This is the one that's like this thick, the one you use for intro.
The hardback one.
The VT.
I think it's like TV or CTVT, something like that.
Yeah, it's 4 letters. The veterinary technician.
This one?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, I think you were holding up because there's a workbook that goes with that as well.
The clinical textbook for veterinary technicians?
Yeah, the CTVT. That's it, CTVT. So that is the textbook that we use for this class. So all the primarily small animal nutrition. Now, as we go forward, a lot of this nutritional information can be related to you. Because obviously, dogs, cats, doesn't really matter. They need the same nutrients that we do. We take in amino acids. In fact, amino acids, proteins, are probably one of the most important nutrients because we reassemble those into a ton of other structures in our bodies. Now, when I'm talking about these molecular structures like amino acids and simple sugars, here's what you can do to kind of compare them in your mind. Let's take a protein. Let's take chicken. I had a lovely chicken salad sandwich from Potbelly's last night for dinner. It was delicious. I have half of it left to go. I'm excited to eat it for lunch. So, but that chicken is made up of amino acids. And basically what those amino acids are is they're like Legos. Okay, what can you build with a Lego? You can build anything with Legos. Well, that's the whole premise behind all of these nutrients. I have tons of different colors and shapes and sizes of Lego. And these Legos can be configured into different proteins. So this is kind of what gives us the different qualities of the proteins. If you think about beef, let's take a filet mignon. That's the one thing I miss, is having a nice steak, going out to a restaurant, having a great steak. Oh, that was my favorite thing to do. So we have this lovely filet mignon over here. And here I have a McDonald's hamburger. Theoretically, they're both made of cow. I mean, in theory. What makes them different? If they both came from, let's say they both came from the same cow, why is one so much better than the other? It has to do with the Legos. The filet mignon has a bunch of different kinds of Legos, different colors, different shapes. The profile, the sheer variety of Legos is very, very vast. And the Legos are super easy to break apart. Because the thing is about nutrition is your body has to break all of the Legos apart in order to use them. If Legos are still attached to other Legos, your body can't use it. You got to get rid of it. We got to break it down into individual Legos. And so having the Legos super easy to break apart, that combined with the profile, how many different kinds of Legos, that's what makes this a very high quality protein. McDonald's hamburger, the only Legos that's made up are those stupid little 2 red ones. You know, the only thing you can do with them is make the chimney on your Lego house. But then, my God, so when you get them, and you're trying to pull them apart, you're like breaking your fingernails off, trying to break them apart. That's McDonald's hamburger. There's very, very few different kinds of Legos, and they're super hard to break apart. And that is the difference between high and low quality nutrients. So before we go any further with nutrients, nutrition, what does this mean for you? Why are we making you sit in this class? I want to go, oops, what did I just do? There we go. I don't know what I just did. There we go. So I've got my whiteboard here. So the first thing I want to do is talk to you a little bit about the digestive system. The digestive system, oh, this is a point the toe moment, guys. The digestive system, it's important to have at least a basic idea of how the digestive system works so that we will understand, you know, what happens during digestion. How is our body utilizing these nutrients? All right, so I'm going to draw here. There's our esophagus. This is our stomach. Here's our small intestines. Here's our colon. That is your intestinal tract. It's beautiful. It is simple yet so complex. Everything has a job, and it's really absolutely phenomenal. If you want to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, oh my gosh, I've been going down the weirdest rabbit holes lately. Like these YouTube rabbit holes. I got on one last night where I was watching it. Have you guys ever watched that show? What is it? Celebrity lip sync. It's like where celebrity lip sync battles. It's ridiculous. It's where two famous people go and they lip sync a song. It's ridiculous. But I got down this rabbit hole and I just started, yeah, those 3 a.m. YouTubes. But then I also went down these rabbit holes of like anatomy, because you know I'm huge into anatomy. I love anatomy. I do have on my website a video that is called Anatomy for Beginners. It was a video put out on the BBC. They're far more progressive than American television. And basically what this video series does is the one on digestion. They take, now it's a human cadaver. I do want to warn you on that, spoiler alert. But ultimately and anatomically, there's nothing different between a human, a dog, and a cat digestive system. Now, when you get into cows and horses, yeah, there are some differences. But dogs, cats, humans, exactly the same. So they take this human cadaver and they take out her digestive system from her tongue to her anus. And they just spread it out. And they go over all of the accessory organs and they tell you what everything does and what are the functions, and you get to see it and look at it. It's really very fascinating. So if you got like 40 minutes, it's linked to my website. It's really pretty cool. Ultimately, this is the digestive system. So the first thing that happens, let me get a different color here, have a little piece of food. We swallow a piece of food and it enters here into our esophagus. Esophagus is our food tube. Now it's important that we at least have a basic foundational knowledge of what's going on here. We have peristalsis. Peristalsis is the specialized muscle contraction. Remember, we talked about this when we were discussing muscles and muscle contraction a million years ago when we were all in anatomy class together. So this piece of food is now no longer under your conscious control. It's going to move down the esophagus into your stomach. So somebody remind me, and I think, you guys can draw on this, right? Somebody try and draw on this whiteboard.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, fabulous. So I don't mind, there you go. So just make sure you erase it after or I'm gonna lose all my space. But somebody write or say for me, what was the medical term for stomach?
Gastro.
Very nice. It's gastro. Gastro. So we have our piece of food has now moved into the stomach. Well, what is the stomach's job? In a nutshell, the stomach's job is to pre-loosen all of the Legos, essentially liquefying your food. Has a very, very, very strong acid in your stomach. It's similar to like a hydrochloric, like a battery acid. And this acid liquefies the Chipotle burrito. Once your stomach's done, it don't look like no Chipotle burrito no more. So this stomach is going to take the food and it's going to liquefy, liquefy, liquefy. And it's going to pre-break apart all of the Legos. Once all that's done, we're going to move it through a very strong sphincter. And what a sphincter is, I know the one sphincter you immediately think of is the one that puckers when I say I'm going to give you a test, right? But you have a ton of sphincters in your body, and it's just a muscle that opens and closes. It's a round muscle that opens and closes. So your food now moves here into the first part of the small intestine. Somebody tell me what the first part of the small intestine is called.
Duodenum. Duodenum?
The duodenum.
Keep saying duodenum. I don't know why.
Or duodenum. Honestly, either one are correct. The duodenum, duodenum, both are right. Just kind of depends on who taught you. So the duodenum's job, actually all three parts of the small intestine have very similar jobs. And that job is to break apart Legos. We need to break apart the protein into amino acids and the carbohydrates into sugars. We need to break apart the Legos. And so this is where that happens, is in the small intestine. Now, right here in our duodenum, we have our first little, do it. We have a little gland right here. And that little gland is called the pancreas. And the pancreas is, his job is to send in some digestive enzymes that are going to help start the breakdown process. So he's going to send those enzymes into here, that duodenum, the first part of the small intestine. So as our food moves through the small intestines, we're breaking apart the Legos, breaking apart the Legos. By the time it gets here, every Lego that can be broken off has been broken off, and anything that has not been broken off has got to go. Because if we don't break the Legos apart, we cannot use the nutrient. And that would be considered the undigestible remains. Now, the harder something is to break apart, the more there is left over for you to have to get rid of, which is why you're going to poop so much more with a low quality McDonald's hamburger if you eat nothing but McDonald's. In fact, there was a movie like a decade ago where he survived on nothing but McDonald's 3 meals a day for like 30 days.
Super
Size me.
Super Size Me. Oh my God. And then he was absolutely shocked when he had massive, he actually went into like massive organ failure, multi-system organ failure. And he
you made a sequel.
Oh my God. Talk about the shallow end of the gene pool. Gee whiz.
He made another movie.
They were like vegetarians and stuff like that.
I don't know. I know he had a TV series for a while, which had nothing to do with McDonald's. Anyway, I digress. But this is where we start to see in our animals. If you're feeding a low quality food, now am I saying that's bad? No, not necessarily. We all feed what we can. But you're going to see a much larger volume of stool with a lower quality food than you would with a higher quality food. It would be no different than you sustaining yourself on high quality nutrients, going to the grocery and getting the high quality, a little bit pricier, versus eating at McDonald's every day. If you ate at McDonald's every day, the amount of poo that would be escaping your body would be astonishing. So those of you that have animals that seem to be having frequent bowel movements or large volumes of stool, you may want to rethink what you're feeding. It may not be that it's a low quality food. It may be that that particular concentration of nutrients is a little more difficult for that particular animal to break down. Anything that does not get broken down, any Legos that don't get separated, they're going to go. The other thing that can happen is, so I have my sweet dog, Julie. I told you about her. She was my little protector lab mix. I tried to put her, our clinic changed foods back when I was in practice. We had been carrying Science Diet, and we switched over to a brand called Eukanuba. And so as an employee of the clinic, I got a discount if I bought Eukanuba from the clinic. So I'd bring, and it's a great quality food. It's one of the top quality foods you can buy. The problem is that throughout this digestive process, Julie's body was not able to break down the nutrients as readily as she had with the other food. And so what that meant was there was a lot more stuff going here into the colon, and she got super farty. Like, holy, like clear a room, audible, wake herself up farts because of her inability to break down and utilize those nutrients. So if you have some dogs that are having a lot of stool, you may want to rethink what you're feeding them. So our food has now everything that we possibly could have used, we have used. And so now everything that enters here, this is the point of no return. This is our colon. Sometimes we refer to it as the large intestine. Sometimes we refer to it as the large bowel. This is simply a storage facility for the undigestible remains of our food. The other thing that our colon does is it helps to regulate water. So remember that our Chipotle burrito right now is still in liquid form. Even though it's all the stuff we couldn't use, it's still liquid. And so what we need to do is we need to suck out the water and put that back into circulation and reuse it. And so the colon's job is to regulate the water content, making the feces not too hard, not too soft, making it just right. And so when you go and have that lovely, satisfying bowel movement, you know, you don't have to strain too hard. It's not painful, but it's also not too soft. Turn around and thank your colon. Thank you, colon, because your colon is what caused the water to be regulated perfectly. So the colon has, this is really creepy rule of 3, guys. 3 parts to your small intestine, 3 parts to your large intestine. We have the ascending, transverse, descending. We have this final little wiggle. And then our Chipotle burrito once again meets the outside world in the form of poop, hopefully in your toilet. That, in a nutshell, is how your intestines and your digestive system works. Now we got one other guy that we need to discuss here, and he lives right about here. And this is going to be your liver. Now your liver doesn't really break any nutrients down. Your liver is the bank of your body. Money, honey. Why do I compare the liver to the bank? Well, your body is very greedy, all right? Every cell in your body has to get paid. Everybody gots to gets paid. And the money that every cell accepts as currency is glucose. So if your body is not getting paid, it will stop working. Now, all of the nutrients that we just got from our Chipotle burrito, okay, all of the Legos, the simple sugars and the fatty acids and the amino acids, all of these simple Legos, they are not in a currency that our body will accept. It's no different than if you travel out of the country and you have your American money and you go to another country. What do you have to do? You've got to convert that money into a currency that will be accepted. Where do you go for that? The bank. In our bodies, the bank is going to be the liver. And so all of the nutrients that we got from the intestines, from the small intestines, they go into the bloodstream. And the blood drops it off here at the liver before making its trip back to the lungs and the heart. So this is a little detour that we make. The blood goes through the liver, and the liver is able to convert those nutrients into glucose. And then one of 2 things is going to happen. Either that glucose will go directly into your blood and the cells will use it right away, or we'll have excess glucose and we're going to put that into the, sadly, the storage unit to use for another day. But it's important that we are able to convert that energy into something the body is going to use. And so that's the job of the liver. The liver is going to do all of that converting. Let's erase. All right, so what questions can I answer for you about the digestive system in general? I know this is not anatomy class, guys, but in order for us to understand how nutrients are working within the body, we gotta have an understanding of what's happening to them once we eat that lovely Chipotle burrito or whatever it is that you want to be feasting on.
Can you, you quickly said what the pancreas helps with. Can you kind of go over that?
Absolutely. Oh, the pancreas. It's one of my all-time favorite. It's a glandular organ. Let's see. So this glandular organ, pancreas has what we call both endocrine and exocrine functions. So endocrine, we talked about this in our anatomy class. Endo meaning in, so the oops, gotta get my draw on. The pancreas, although I don't know why I'm drawing. Why don't I just do this? The pancreas, endo means inside. So endocrine means into the blood. This has nothing to do really with true digestion. The endocrine function of the pancreas, it produces something called insulin. Basically what insulin does is it regulates the glucose in your blood. If you have glucose in your blood, it's insulin that's going to take it out of your bloodstream and deliver it to your tissues where they can use it for energy. So if you have a condition where you're not producing insulin, like diabetes. If you've got diabetes, you're not producing insulin. And so what that means is I now have my bloodstream and I have all this glucose. And remember what I said? Everybody gets paid. It's insulin that's going to take that glucose and get it out of the blood and into the tissue. If I don't have the ability to do this, nobody's getting paid. Now, what we are referring to, what we are referring to here is the exocrine functions of the pancreas. This is depositing anywhere other than the blood. Blood. These are going to be digestive enzymes. Yeah. So the pancreas in this case, erase. So the pancreas in this case, here's my duodenum. Okay, it's the first part of my small intestine. Here's my pancreas. They're kind of spooning. It's really quite romantic. The pancreas is the little spoon. The duodenum is the big spoon. Now, it's going to be depositing these digestive enzymes. There's a little duct. Remember, a duct is just simply a passageway. And it's going to be depositing these digestive enzymes into the small intestine. These digestive enzymes, we have one called lipase and one called amylase. I spelled that wrong. This is a Y. Amylase. So lipase, lipo, is going to help break down what? Fats. So lipase is the thing we need to break apart the Legos of fats. Amylase is the thing that we're going to use to break down sugar and starches. I'm not writing very well, but you get the idea. Sugar and starches. And so these two digestive enzymes from the pancreas, these are what are going to allow our bodies to break apart these Legos and use them. Because if we don't break the Legos apart, our body gets rid of them in varying degrees of severity. So let me give you not so much a pancreatic, well, first off, does that explain for you the pancreas?
Perfectly, thanks.
Absolutely, I love, well, and here's why I love the pancreas. So pancreas is a drama queen, guys. The pancreas is all about the drama. And there's so much drama going on with this guy. So basically, you can get inflammation of the pancreas, pancreatitis. And what pancreatitis then does is the pancreas starts to get irritated. And when the pancreas gets irritated, he just starts digesting everything, including himself. And so he's just like, I'm burning this thing to the ground. And he just, so let me give you, I had a dog, my family dog, little schnauzer, and as every schnauzer on the planet, her name was Pepper. I don't know why every schnauzer on the planet's name is Pepper, but it does seem to be. And Pepper had pancreatitis. And so basically what would happen is the pancreas, mild manner, doing okay, sitting there, looking at the food. So when we'd feed Pepper her special diet, the pancreas knew, okay, oh, look, here's looking down into the duodenum. Oh, there's the dog food. Here's a squeeze of amylase, squeeze of lipase. Off it goes. It gets broken down and digested, and it knew exactly what was happening. But then Pepper would get into the garbage, and she would develop garbage gut. And basically what that is now the pancreas is looking down at this new stuff in the duodenum, and it's going, I don't know what you people want from me. I don't know how much digestive, you know what, just take it all, I didn't know it was going to be quite that dramatic, did you? And he just starts splooshing out all of the digestive enzymes, and the duodenum's like, dude, you're digesting me. And the pancreas like, I don't care, I'm burning it to the ground. And so then you're going to see symptoms associated with vomiting, diarrhea, blood in the vomit, blood in the diarrhea, massive abdominal pain. All because this little bugger just had a total temper tantrum. Pancreas. Crazy. All right, so erase. So moving and keeping with the idea of the pancreas. So the pancreas, as I just said, breaks down fats and sugars. So let me give you a real world example of kind of the things we're going to be discussing in this class. I have a sugar. It's a 2-moleculed sugar, 2-di sugar saccharide. This 2-moleculed sugar is known as a disaccharide. And basically and you may have heard these terms before, monosaccharide, polysaccharide, disaccharide. Basically, all of these are, so we have a monosaccharide here and a monosaccharide here, and they are bonded together. And this bonding of them makes it a disaccharide. If I had more than 2, if I join another one here, now I have a polysaccharide. Not going to get into too much detail with that. Right now, I just want to discuss the idea behind, kind of give you a real world example of your digestive system. So this particular disaccharide that I have created right here is a disaccharide called lactose. Lactose is a sugar. We find it most commonly in milk, in dairy, cheese, and ice cream, and all of the lovely dairy products. Now, before I can use these monosaccharides, because that's the whole point of my digestive system, I have got a Lego and a Lego. But those two Legos are joined together, which means what? I can't use it. I can't use it. What do I need to do? I got to break the bond. I got to break these apart. I got to have two separate Legos in order for my body to use it. Now me, I'm not a big milk fan. I love dairy though. I could eat cheese until the cows come home.
Good one.
I've been alone for so long, guys.
At least you can still make yourself laugh.
You know what? I'm really my own best friend. I just have the best conversations with myself. I might be going insane. I don't know. I just don't know.
Self-love is the best love.
Oh, absolutely.
That's more fun when you're crazy.
That is the truth. And we all knew I was a little eccentric in the beginning anyway. The word we're using is eccentric. Eccentric. But yeah, the more I find myself alone, I don't know. It's just, it's gotten a little weird. Not gonna lie. Anyway, so I love cheese. I'm not a big fan of the hard cheeses, Brit. I know that they don't have a lot of lactose. I'm more into like the cheddar cheese and the mozzarella. Oh, I love the mozzarella. And you know, the Colby Jack and all, like the softer cheeses. I even love the cream cheeses.
It sounds like y'all be pooping a lot.
Well, I don't eat them all day, every day. And there's nothing wrong with having a good poo. There's nothing wrong with that.
Miss Huff, do you be doing 3 a.m. cheese runs with shredded cheese in the refrigerator?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There are times like yesterday for a snack, I was eating crackers, cream cheese, and a hard pepperoni. You just make a little pepperoni sandwich with the cream cheese. Oh, so good. Anyway, I digress. Those of you who love are now all in the Zoom chat going, yes, I love cheese too. So the great thing is about those of you that are able to eat cheese is you produce the enzyme, because it is a digestive enzyme that breaks that bond. And we now have 2 simple sugars that your body can use very easily. What happens if your body can't break that bond? Oh my God, Rob, you just changed my life.
Yeah, you're welcome. Mm-hmm.
And then what, you cook it? Or you
No,
cook it?
I had a really fat friend, and he showed me how to do this. You get those little, and you wrap them in prosciutto. Not baked, but prosciutto.
Yeah,
So
prosciutto.
like basically the fat.
Oh my God, yeah, you've just changed my life.
Yeah.
Kadeem, did you have a question, Kadeem?
Nah, I pressed the wrong button.
That's okay. All right, so Andy's telling us that she's fresh out of that enzyme, which means she is what? Lactose intolerant. So here's what that means, not calling anyone out, although I'm now seeing a lot of lactose intolerant people, and I feel so sad for you. I feel very sad and upset for you. So here's what happens. Varying degrees of severity. Your body cannot break this bond, which means what? I can't use this molecule. I cannot use this nutrient. And so on the light side, okay, those of you that have a mild intolerance, basically a mild intolerance is going to be where your body looks at this, your small intestine, your duodenum, okay, one of the boys in your small intestines, and he's looking at this and he's like, trying to pull apart the Legos. and he's really just working on it and he's trying to break it apart. Well, the longer he's working on this one molecule, everything else that he needs to break down is just sitting there and wait. The problem is the longer it waits, the more gas it produces. So on the low end, on the mild end, you eat the cheese, you get gassy, bloaty, farty. Because your small intestines are working so hard to break apart those Legos. They're not breaking apart anything else, and you've got gas accumulating, gassy, bloaty, farty. Here's what happens on the severe end. Your small intestine gets this lactose, and your body goes, oh my God, this could be Ebola. We got to get rid of it right now. And Duodenum throws it to Ilium, and Ilium's or to Jejunum rather, that's the next guy, Jejunum, and Jejunum's like, whoa, I don't want it. Ilium, get rid of this. And Ilium's like, oh my God, colon, get rid of this right now. Colon goes, okay, turns himself into a slip and slide, and essentially you are now urinating feces out of your butt. So that would, hot potato in the intestines. Absolutely. And so then you are just sitting on the toilet and you have liquid, because remember, everything in your colon is liquid. And if your colon is being told evacuate, what it does is it just simply doesn't remove any of the water. And that's when you're going to have liquid water diarrhea. People that vomit from it, now this is a much higher up. When stuff gets to your stomach has little sensors, and these little sensors determine what should be passed on and what should not. Because remember, by the time we get stuff through your stomach into your intestines, it's too late. Once stuff gets into your intestines, there's only one way out, and that is out your butt. Problem is that your GI tract is the most vascularized, meaning that it has the highest amount of blood supply, because every nutrient that you take in has to be uploaded into the blood. Well, the problem is that if I have a pathogen, or if I have something that is deemed to be very dangerous, I don't want it to go and have access to my blood. So my stomach may have developed these little sensors saying, do not pass go, do not pass this along. This disaccharide, the stomach is now looking at it going, yeah, no. This is not going any further. I said nay, nay. I said good day, sir. We then have a violent stomach contraction and we evacuate it so that it does not have the ability to go deep within our bodies. So that's what it is. If you have vomiting, which is not common, but it means that your stomach has a sensor and it has determined that we are not sending this along. So this lactose intolerance, I'll call kind of funny. I've made it really quite dramatic, haven't I? But this lactose intolerance is a great true world example of how does your digestive system work. And every single nutrient you take in, the chicken in our Chipotle burrito, and the sour cream, which is the sugar and the fat and the starches, as well as the vitamins and the minerals. And this is one tiny example of what your body has to do to every single one of those ingredients. I find it really fascinating and kind of mind-blowing. I just kind of sit and think about this stuff. My body, without me even having to have any conscious ability, my body is able to break down substances to their most basic molecular structure and then convert that molecular structure into another structure that is far more usable within my body. Okay, I'm not seeing an appropriate amount of astonishment. That's incredible. That is amazing. That is just, and it can determine things that it thinks might harm us and get rid of them. I find that, apparently I find it far more fascinating than you do. And that's okay. Sometimes it's just for me, and that's okay. So that is essentially the way that our digestive systems work. And again, I know you're like, but Ms. Huff, we're not in anatomy class. It is important that you understand how does our body break these nutrients down before we can start getting into how do the nutrients benefit our bodies. So that is our basic anatomy. All right, any comments, questions, concerns about any of that anatomical wonderment that I just shared with you? I love it. I love that lactose is what is the thing that brought us together today. The thing that woke you all up was lactose. Yeah, I feel so sad for those of you that are lactose intolerant. So here's what I'm going to do, because I know that this is a super long class since we only meet 3 times a week. We are here until 11:55, so we got about another 45 minutes. Here's what I want to do, though. Let's take a 5-minute break. Go take, because I know I've been, let me pause. All right, and we're back. I feel like I'm on television. We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back right after these messages. Telling you guys, I've been alone for a really long time. Oh, God. Okay. So, nutrition. Let's talk about it. Let me get my introductory little PowerPoint up here. Get my chat. Here we go. Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second. The queen wants in now, of course. She didn't want to come in when I came in. Did you bark? Are you coming in or what? You're going to just lay in the sun and bark. Okay, just lay in the sun then. No, she's just barking to bark. All right, so this is just a basic overview of everything that I just talked to you about as far as the digestive system. So we need to know the just basic components. Again, this is not anatomy. You guys in your anatomy class are going to be going into great detail, like the musculature and the different enzymes. This, I don't know if I uploaded this to my Zoom yet, or Zoom. I have so many things. My Moodle. This is just introductory. So I will upload this. I'm putting it on my list. If you go to my website, Moodle. This one is called Nutrition 1.2. It's just an introductory PowerPoint. And I will, Andy, I will get this uploaded into my Moodle today. So you guys will have access at it there. But if you are desperate to have access to it right now, it is on my personal website.
Thank you.
All right, so our basic components that we just talked about, again, not in huge detail. It's just important that we have at least a foundational understanding of what's happening after you eat that Chipotle burrito or you drink that delicious glass of juice. All right, so we have digestion beginning at the mouth. You have enzymes in your saliva that starts breaking this down, and separating the Legos. You have teeth that help to break apart mechanically. We have 2 different forms of digestion. We have mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. Once you have chewed, and all of you that are eating, you are chewing, you then move that bolus. A bolus is just a package of food to the back of your throat where we have a shared room for activities. This is called the pharynx, and this is where the opening of the trachea, which is your air tube, and the opening of the esophagus, which is your food tube, this is where those two openings kind of meet. Now we've got a little bit of an evolutionary flaw where the food has to pass over the air tube in order to get into the food tube. Now this can cause a bit of a problem because if you do get food in your air tube, it's not meant to be there, and it's going to cause you to choke. We have this little trap door called the epiglottis. And so what happens is when the food gets sent to the back of your throat, the epiglottis closes off the opening to your air tube, and it allows the food to go very safely over into the food tube, the esophagus. The esophagus is now not under your conscious control. It is your autonomic or your automatic nervous system is going to control this. And we have the peristalsis, which is going to propel the food down the epiglottis or down the esophagus into the stomach. The stomach has creepy rule of 3. We have the fundus, which is basically a reservoir for gas. We have the body, which is what is liquefying and breaking apart, kind of loosening up the Legos. And we have the antrum, which antrum just means the end. So once it has passed through the stomach, it has now liquefied and we've loosened up all of the Legos. It's going to go to the small intestines. And the small intestines' job, as we just discussed, is to fully break apart the Legos. Every Lego that can be broken apart has to be broken apart. And once the Legos are broken apart, we then put those nutrients into the blood. And then the blood will take them where they need to go. Do they need to go to the storage? Do they need to go to the liver to be converted? Whatever we need to do with them. We do have some accessory glands, as we just discussed. We've got the drama queen of the pancreas. The pancreas has endocrine and exocrine functions. It is the exocrine functions that are the digestive functions. Exocrine means anywhere other than the bloodstream. So the pancreas is going to deposit these digestive enzymes into the small intestine, specifically the duodenum. And that's going to help the duodenum really break apart those Legos. Once it's passed through the jejunum and passed through the ileum, we have a connection between our small and large intestine. And this connection is called the cecum. Now, in us, in dogs, and in cats, the cecum really just is a transition from small to large intestine. She's barking again. Let me go grab her before she irritates my neighbors. Get in here, barking Miss Barkerson. All right. So in our simple stomached animals, or monogastric animals, the cecum really just is a transition. Now, there are other animals that use the cecum as part of their digestive function. We do not. The cecum transitions to the large intestine, and the large intestine's job is just to act as a storage unit for anything that our body couldn't break apart, anything our body deemed unusable. The large intestine sucks out the water, because at this point it's still liquid. If you've ever had diarrhea, you know it's still liquid at that point. It's going to suck out the water, and it's going to turn the feces, the undigestible remains, into the semi-solid material that we all know and appreciate. The final digestive accessory is the liver, and I explained that as it's kind of the bank of the body. So when we eat the Chipotle burrito, it is not in a form that our body will accept. And so our liver is able to convert those nutrients into something that our bodies are able to use, specifically glucose. Finally, we have the termination of our large intestine, which is the rectum, which is the inside, and the anus, which is the opening to the outside. And so those are all of the basic components and functions of our digestive systems. So we have a little bit of terminology, and those of you that are going to be furiously writing, Don't worry, I've got some slides that have the actual definitions of these. I'm just going to go through these very quickly, then we'll go into the actual definitions. Well, the first thing is we're in nutrition class. It's kind of important that we know what the definition of nutrition is. So we're going to discuss the definition of nutrition. And basically, it's just the components that allow us to remain alive. What is a nutrient? Well, a nutrient is the specific component. We have amino acids, which are making up our proteins. We have sugars, which are making up our carbohydrates. We have fatty acids making up our fats. Those are all nutrients. And so nutrition is taking those specific nutrients and seeing how do they interact and what kind of benefits and uses are we getting out of them in our bodies. Now, we also have kind of what we are going to be doing in this class, and that's going to be clinical nutrition. So what is the difference? Well, nutrition is seeing the reaction of the body to different nutrients. How are these nutrients benefiting us? Clinical nutrition is much more of a medical setting. Clinical nutrition is seeing a specific patient, gauging the needs of that patient, and tailoring a nutritional support system to meet those needs. That's clinical nutrition. And so that's going to be much more tailoring on an individual basis. We have two kind of, where'd my pen go? No, there. We have two similar words right here, digestible and bioavailable. So what are they? Digestible is how easy is it for your body to break down the nutrients. So if we take our two proteins that we talked about before, we've got our lovely filet mignon and we have our McDonald's hamburger. Very easy, or much in comparison, very easy for our bodies to break down the Legos from the filet mignon. Therefore, the filet is said to be highly, that's supposed to be an arrow, highly digestible. It has a high digestibility. The higher the digestibility, the easier it is for your body to break down. The McDonald's hamburger, your body just is having a really hard time breaking that down. So the McDonald's hamburger would be said to have a very low digestibility. The lower the digestibility, the harder it is for your body to break down. Let's, no, I'll give that example here in a second. So digestibility, how efficiently can your body break down the nutrient? Bioavailability is how much of that nutrient does your body use? Just because you have a nutrient available does not necessarily mean your body's going to use it. So digestibility, how easy is it to break down? Bioavailability, how much of that nutrient does your body use? We have some nutrients that have a very low digestibility and a very low bioavailability, meaning it's very hard for your body to break it down, and your body doesn't use a whole lot even of the stuff it does get broken down. So I'm going to now give you an example of something that has a low digestibility, hard to break down, and a low bioavailability, don't use a whole lot. Are you ready? Corn. Yeah, corn, like specifically like whole kerneled corn, corn on the cob. I love corn on the cob. I love it when we go camping. We roast it over, we wrap it inside the husk and we do fire roasted. Just lay it on the open fire. Oh, so good. So good. I miss camping. We haven't been able to go. The state park has been closed. That makes me very sad. Anyway, corn. Well, we all know if you eat a lot of corn, guess what's going to happen in like a day? You're going to have a lot of corn in your You're gonna have corn in your poo. Why is that? Well, because remember, anything your body can't break down, it's gonna get rid of. And even the corn that your body does break down, only a small amount of it is usable. It's I'm gonna throw some words out. Don't worry, don't panic. It's just so you've heard them before. Corn is what we call a complex carbohydrate or fiber. Now, fibers are good for you. Fibers are great. Your intestines love fiber. It's like giving them a workout. They're like, yeah, I'm getting all buff. Burr, burr, burr. But the problem is that corn doesn't get broken down. It doesn't get used. And that's why you find it so frequently in your stool after you've eaten a large volume of corn. Now, the question always is, but I chewed the corn. And when I see it in my poo, it looks the exact same as when it was on the cob. It's just the magic of corn. There is actually a process behind why you poo out full kernels of corn, even though you chewed them. We'll talk about that when we get into fiber. I actually know why you do poo out corn. I'm a wealth of useless knowledge. I'm just saying. So corn is a great example of this digestible bioavailable. Again, high digestibility, easy to break down. Low digestibility, difficult to break down. High bioavailability, our bodies use a lot of the nutrients, a very large percentage. Low bioavailability, our bodies don't really use the nutrients even if they are available. Any questions about that? Because those are kind of important. Everybody's okay? All right. What does it mean to depolymerize something? Yes, Haley. So digestible means how easy is it to break down. Bioavailable is how much is being used. Well, as I said, all of these nutrients are bonded. Well, most of the nutrients are bonded. Your amino acids are held together. It's the Legos, they're held together. And to depolymerize, the definition of that is to simply break them apart. We are breaking apart the Legos. So the action of your body pulling apart the Legos, that is the fancy term for that, is to depolymerize. All of this is to give us energy. All of our cells, as I said, greedy, gots to gets paid. Everyone gots to gets paid. And so it's this energy intake and conversion that allows us to supply our body functions, our body systems with energy and give them the energy to perform. Without energy, nothing works. This right here, that's one of my favorite words in nutrition. Gluconeogenesis. Let's break this down. We need to continue using your med term. We're going to be continuing and practicing your med term. We know gluco is sugar. Neo is new. Genesis, creation or formation of. So gluconeogenesis is the creation of new sugars. Now, we do have internal and external methods of gluconeogenesis. Let me explain. Internal gluconeogenesis is what is happening after you eat your Chipotle burrito, right? We have the Chipotle burrito, it goes in and it gets stored. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, we got a lot of stuff getting stored in the storage unit. Our storage unit is adipose tissue. Adipose is just the word for fat. The more stuff you put in the storage unit, the bigger the storage unit gets. I think we're all familiar with that concept. Internal gluconeogenesis would be me having to break down that stored fat to get new sugar. So for example, I have in fact not eaten yet today. I don't tend to eat in the mornings. I have breakfast of champions right here, my Diet Coke. There we go. So right now, my body is still needing energy. I'm still requiring energy. I still got to pay everyone. So my body is functioning right now on internal gluconeogenesis. I am breaking down internal tissue, internal adipose. That fat is getting broken down. It is going to my liver. My liver is converting it into glucose and sending it out into my blood to pay my cells to work. So if we are breaking down internal tissue, that is the internal formation of sugar. External gluconeogenesis, so when I do finally eat something, I'm going to go and eat my delicious half of my Potbelly sandwich, my chicken salad sandwich that I had delivered last night. When I eat that, suddenly my body then transfers from having to use internal tissue for energy to using what I've taken in from the outside. So I'm going to eat the Chipotle or burrito. I'm going to eat the chicken salad sandwich. My body's going to break it down. My intestines are going to upload those nutrients. Those nutrients are immediately going to my liver, and I'm now supplying myself with the glucose I need from something I've taken in from the outside. Both are the formation of new sugar, right? Because my liver's having to convert both into glucose. But with the internal, I'm breaking down internal adipose tissue. With the external, I am converting what I have immediately taken in from the outside. Cats. Context tough. Sometimes my brain just goes, say a word. Blah. So cats. Cats are aliens. I think we've all agreed on that. Cats are obligate carnivores, meaning that they can only get some of the nutrients that they need to have from meat. They can't get it from plant material. And so that's why they're called obligate carnivores, because they are obligated to eat meat. Why am I talking about cats? Well, cats are a great example of this gluconeogenesis. Cats have to be dependent on external gluconeogenesis. So what do I mean by that? Remember, external is going to be taking food from the outside, breaking it down, converting it for energy immediately. They cannot sustain themselves on internal gluconeogenesis. Cats don't have the ability to effectively break down their own fat for energy. Basically, what happens is it just gloms up and accumulates in the liver. The liver's like, I don't know what to do with any of this. We got fat coming to the liver, convert, convert. Our body's saying, hey, mayday, mayday, we need energy. Break down the fat. We're not taking in any new energy. Break it down. And the liver's like, And so the liver just keeps accumulating more and more fat, and we eventually get a condition called fatty liver, hepatic lipidosis, a condition of fat in the liver. So why it's important to understand the difference between internal and external gluconeogenesis is just that. We, dogs, other animals, we can sustain ourselves on both. If I don't have anything coming in from the outside, I am able to sustain myself by breaking down that adipose tissue, internal gluconeogenesis. Cats, on the other hand, can't do that. And so they are dependent on external. And that's why cats eat the way that they do. Generally, we would prefer to free feed cats. You put the food in the bowl, you just leave it, let them go. And that's because cats will eat 12 to 20 small meals in a 24-hour period. Because the minute that their blood sugar starts to drop, instead of converting that adipose tissue to get the blood sugar back up, it sends a signal, hey, I'm hungry. Cat will go eat a tiny little meal. That will be enough to raise that blood sugar, and they're fine until the blood sugar gets used up and starts to drop again. So Cats don't necessarily, unless there's something physically wrong, they're pretty good at regulating their own blood sugar with this external method. But this is where you as technicians, it's so important to be able to communicate with your owners and explain to them. Because what the owner sees is a cat that goes up to the bowl, eats 2 or 3 little kibbles, flicks its tail up in the air, and stalks away. Well, what does the owner assume? Doesn't like the food. They're used to a binge eater like a dog. I put the food down for Maisie and Poppy. They eat all the food I put in to the bowl. Now, I know some of you are like, my dog just picks at his food all day. That's great. That's not normal. Dogs are binge eaters, typically. Cats, being that they're just going to go to the food bowl a little bit to get that blood sugar back up, the owner's going to assume, he didn't finish any of his food. He doesn't like it. So what do? They change the food. How well do cats deal with any kind of change?
Not
They
well.
don't. And so then you're going to have a cat go anorexic. Well, we already know what's going to happen there. Their liver's going to get all glommed up with fat because they can't break it down. So this gluconeogenesis is why, for one word, I've just spent the last 15 minutes explaining it. And that's why it's so important. And holy smokes, does time fly when we were having fun? Boy, I got excited there for a minute. The last few minutes just flew right by.